Hunter, so often today we hear how important it is for an artist to have a story in order to get the attention of the media. Can you explain why that is so important?
Oh my God, on so many levels. First of all, as a publicist, you want to work in three, at least that's our strategy, work in three different streams. One would be geographical based. So where you, and when I say you, any members of the band, where you were born, where you grew up, where you went to school, where you reside now. All those places could be geographical based publications, media outlets. When I say media outlets, blogs, vlogs, magazines, radio, TV, and the like that we can approach. Number two would be music based, which is the easy one, who we think you sound like, and who essentially, if you're a rock band, who are all the music, the rock blogs and magazines, media outlets that would fit your music, that would want to write about you. And the third one is what we call lifestyle branding. And that is about who you are. What is it about more than just the music? And that serves you in the publicity world two purposes. Number one, there's less competition. So if you tell me you like to collect coins, maybe I as a publicist am going to pitch a story about what musicians like to collect on the road while you're on tour, just as an example. And then you have to think, how much music does Rolling Stone get versus how much music does coin collecting bloggers get? So number one, there's less competition in there. Number two, the person reading that blog has a personal connection to essentially to the story, to the concept. So they're probably also a coin collector. So they're going to go, oh, he is like me. And he is like me translates into the personal connection that we look for, into the what we call the conversion rate. Because nowadays, it's not just enough to get publicity, right? So I can get you press in many, many, many avenues. But how do we see that convert into, for instance, how do we see the press convert into Facebook fans? And how do we see the Facebook fans convert into people who are actually commenting and on your status updates or liking or sharing what you're doing? So essentially communicating with you on there. And then how do we see that convert into the paying fans? Because essentially your bottom line is, whatever your goals may be, the bottom line is 99% of the time, you want to make a living doing music. You want to quit your day job, you want to make a living doing music, and if you're already making a living doing music, you have to secure that. You'll always be able to do that. So, sorry to jump a little bit out of that, but that's essentially how that helps in terms of defining that brand. People who like you for who you are more likely to purchase the album and not just the song that they like. They're more likely to come see you play, or not just come to see you play, but wear a t-shirt, again, because they like you for the brand. So it's always about taking the band from band to brand, and that's why essentially we're PR and branding firm. It's a big part of that.
You know, you sort of, you've led right into my next question, which is, I was going to ask, you hear that term so often, and it's not a term that we heard in the last, in previous decades, is the word brand. And, I was going to ask you to sort of expand on that principle of why, and you've started to address it, why artists need to consider themselves as a brand, why that is so important in today's market.
Because you're not just going to be making money off your music. It's as simple as that. Okay. We're seeing the labels who are signing new acts and even going to current act and saying, please sign a 360 deal, which essentially means we want a piece of your publishing, of your touring, of your future book deal, your acting career, anything like that. They're not necessarily things that have to do directly with the music right now, with the CDs. But why are they doing that? Number one, because they have to, because they're not making enough money off your CDs, because people are selling less and less music. So their reasoning for it, and it's 360 deals got a really bad rep, but when you have to think about why really they're doing it, they're saying they're promoting the brand. They're promoting you as a brand, because the music becomes what we call the main product, and everything else is a supplementary products. But even though those are supplementary products, such as that book deal or such as touring, that's not supplementary money-wise. You're going to make more money off that. But without promoting the music, we promote the music as a means of getting people out to see you. So even if we don't make money off this, the idea of doing it is that you as an indirect way, will make more money from other things. Such as what Radiohead did a few years ago with pay whatever you want, even if it's free, which I constantly have to remind any person I talk to is when you're an independent band, don't do that because they don't have to sell any music in order to, don't devalue the music as well. So what they did, and what major labels or major artists can do, is not necessarily what you should be doing and even can afford to do as an independent artist.
Right, Prince did the same thing.
Yes, very similar with the Sunday,
Well, by giving away the CD, but his whole philosophy when he was interviewed was, that person may buy a concert ticket. They may buy an old album. They may buy a piece of merchandise. I mean, it's the concept, as I'm listening to you, about it's selling everything around the music is what the brand is really all about.
Yeah, and you have to elevate the value of the brand, because for a Prince album, you recognize Prince and you say this has some sort of value to it. But if you were to pick up a random CD on Hollywood Boulevard, or even going to New York every time I go, you have any major cities, you have people trying to pass out music. Once it's free, it's like getting a flyer. It has no value to you. You most likely will never even go and listen to it. So you have to remember on that level. Also, with things like Radiohead and Prince did, they were the pioneers in doing that. So on the publicity side, we always say they got a lot of press for doing that. So automatically, not only are you an unknown brand, but automatically when you do that, you're not the first one to do it, you're not going to get as much press for doing it. So there's also the concept of doing it for the sake of getting press, because you come up with this concept of giving it for free through, whether it's online or through the Sunday newspaper.
Right, exactly. Now, let me ask you something. In terms of your approach to marketing and publicity, does the genre dictate the path that you take or the strategy that you will take in terms of working with a client? Are all genres different in terms of their approach?
They are. In the sense of, and here's what I always tell my students to do. It's a fun thing to do. If you go on Wikipedia and you search for a list of social networking sites, you'll get a list of hundreds of social networking sites. Some of them have millions of active users, and you've never heard of them. So the first thing is, and it's kind of a derivative of the genre, is more where the consumers are at. You have to, so for hip hop, you would have a different consumer base than for teen pop. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer as a marketing person and say, where would my consumer consume, which consumer again being the fan, consume my music, and go where they are. So I use the example of social networking sites because if you have someone like teen pop, you may want to go for Bebo, which many people have never heard of. So we tend to go for Facebook because that's where the majority of people are, but that's your starting point. Although there are some sites that you may want to focus on, the really hardcore metal sites that would do more for you than Facebook. Same goes for hip hop, same goes for teen pop. So our particular sites, especially if geographically you're outside the States, there are definitely networking sites, social networking sites that are that would do a lot more for you than Facebook in that sense. So while I handle mostly North American markets, there are definitely going to be a lot of stuff outside the U.S. It's going to be very beneficial for you as an artist.
Okay. To wrap up, what final advice would you give for artists who are beginning their career as far as marketing?
Always have a goal. I cannot emphasize that enough. Have a goal and remember to promote your product, because publicity will take you a certain way, but you have to really see what it is that you're going to do. So if I had to give one advice, it would be remember that distribution does not create demand. Because people going on iTunes, you want to create the best product possible and you want to put it on iTunes, that becomes your distribution. But people on iTunes are going for one or two reasons. Number one, they know exactly what they're going to buy in advance. And number two, they're going to be browsing the charts. Very, very small percentage will just go for the sake of browsing the catalog. So as an independent act, you're not going to be starting out. You're not going to be browsing the charts anytime soon. So you have to revert back to option number one and say, how are people going to know my product exists? So it's not enough to just have that product. You have to promote it. People have to know it's there. And maybe they heard about it, they heard you on the radio. Maybe they heard a good interview with you on TV. Or they saw a blog post. Or maybe it was just a CD review in a magazine. And all those things, that's essentially what the publicist does, and that's our approach at LaFamos, is to create demand for that product. Otherwise, you're going to make the best product possible and no one's ever going to hear it.
Okay. Hunter, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much
appreciate
for
it
having me.
immensely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.